how to generate access token in Databricks. So first we'll see what is access token. Then we'll see why it is required to generate the access token. Then we'll go for when do we need to use the access token. Then we'll see how to create access token in Databricks and what are the new options available in Databricks free edition when compared to Databricks community edition. So these are the topics we are going to cover. So first we'll see what is the access token and why it is required. So an access token in Databricks, so mainly it is used to prove your identity when you access Databricks programmatically. That means either CLI or external tools. So it works like a secure password, but it is meant for applications and scripts rather than humans. So why is an access token is required? So first one is authentication. So in authentication, it verifies that you are an authorized user. So without a valid token, Databricks reject the request. Suppose if you see in real-time projects, if you want to access any of the Databricks environment, so in real time, there will be four different types of environments. So one is dev environment, second one is TST, test environment, third one is acceptance environment, fourth one is prod environment. So for each environment, you will be having different Databricks workspaces. So to authenticate a Databricks with your other tools like Airflow, ADF, so this authentication is required. So that is one real-time case. And second one is, suppose if you are using DBT tool, data build tool, and you assume that you are working using VS Code. So all your code you are developing in VS Code, and in VS Code you have to install your DBT core. While installing DBT core, you need to provide the access token. So that time, first you need to generate the access token in Databricks. So that access token you need to provide in VS Code while doing DBT core installation. So that Databricks free edition will authenticate to your VS Code environment. So these are all the two real-time cases why this authentication is required. So next one is security. So you don't have to store your username and password in code. So tokens can be revoked or expired if they are compromised. So in real time, access tokens will be created by your platform team. So they will create on behalf of you. So we need to request for access tokens. They will create and they will provide to developers. So third one is access the Databricks APIs. So it is used when calling Databricks REST APIs. So next Databricks CLI. So the Databricks CLI uses an access token to connect to your workspace. So next one is automation. So used in scripts, CI/CD pipelines, Airflow, Azure DevOps, GitHub Actions, etc. So allows automated jobs without manually logging in. So as I told two examples, one is a DBT with VS Code. So similar way, CI/CD pipelines, either by using DevOps or GitHub Actions. And one more is Airflow. Airflow is running the Airflow pipelines of Databricks notebooks. So there we need authentication to establish connection between Airflow and Databricks. Next, connecting external applications. So tools like Python scripts, Postman, Power BI, and custom applications access tokens to securely communicate with Databricks. So it is mainly uh, to access external tools like these kind of tools to connect with Databricks. So next one is many organizations now prefer service principals, OAuth, or managed identities for automation instead of personal access token. So today our topic is how to create personal access tokens. But here what we are telling is apart from this method, nowadays in recent days, what they're following is this one, service principal, OAuth, managed identities. So because the service principles, it provide stronger security and easier management. So in short, an access token is required whenever a program or tool needs to securely access Databricks on your behalf without an interactive login. And when do you need an access token? So scenario is like whenever you log in into Databricks web UI using SSO, then access token is not required. Suppose if you are using Databricks REST API, then it is required. Databricks CLI, it is required, and running automation scripts, that is required, and connecting to Postman, it is required, and connecting from external Python applications, it is required. And while explaining these options, we'll see now one by one scenario how to create access token now. So first I'm going to home page here. You click on home page button and you will see this window. Next, you go here under your profile, click on your profile and come to settings. Once you come to settings, so here it is workspace domain. So under this, we have these options. And here we have user. Under user, you have these options. And here you click on developer. And here you have option like access token. So this is mainly for developer. So manage your development settings. So here access tokens. So set up and secure authentication to Databricks API using access tokens. And here manage user, click on manage button. It will come to this window. And if you see here access tokens, and if you read here personal access token. So normal terminology is access token. And what we are going to create here is personal access tokens. So it can be used for secure authentication to the Databricks API instead of passwords. So if you click on this link, it will take you to Databricks uh, documentation. So you can read this documentation. So what about this access token? So here they will explain you everything. What are the different authorization methods? So unified authentication, environment variables. So you can go through this documentation. But what we are going to do here is, so here I have generate new token. So currently, since I don't have any access tokens here, so this area is empty. So it telling that no tokens exist. So first time I'm creating my access token. So for that, I'm clicking on this generate new token button. If I click on that, in this dialog box, if you see here, generate new token, and here first one is name. So it telling that what's this token for. So you give proper sentence so that while tracking the access tokens, it will be easy. So suppose my intention is to uh, provide the access token to establish connection between DBT and Databricks free edition. So what I will do here is I will give name like DBT Databricks. So dbt core, dbt Databricks connection, or otherwise dbt Databricks access token. So this is my access token name. Next, second option is lifetime days. So by default option, it will give you 14 days, but you can increase or you can decrease. Okay, this is up to you. So how many days you will mention the here, lifetime days. That means whatever this access token, it is valid for these 14 days. So once after it expires after 14 days, you need to generate one more access token. And next is up to here, these two options are available in Databricks Community Edition. But if you come to Databricks Free Edition, so these are all the additional options they provided. So first one is scope. So under scope, we have two options. So one is BI tools and second one is other APIs. So as soon as you select BI tools, it automatically selects SQL. In other API options, if you click here, you will get a lot of options here. But whenever you create access token, you should know for what purpose you are creating the access token. So these options we'll see one by one. And here API scopes is there. So this is scope. So this is scope, and the scope, one is BI tools, other API tools. So first we need to decide whether we are going to create access token for BI tools or other API tools. So first we need to understand what is BI tools and what is other API tools. So scope is this one, first option. This is scope. So first we'll understand what is that scope. So the scope determines the category of APIs that the token is allowed to use. So in that, first we have BI tools. So this is BI tools. So first we'll see what is this BI tools. So when we need to choose this BI tools is when the token is only used by business intelligence applications, that is BI applications. So the token can only access SQL warehouse related APIs. So since it is clearly mentioned, the token can only access SQL warehouse related APIs. As soon as I select here BI tools, by default, SQL is coming. Okay, so next, and examples of BI tools is, suppose if you want to connect these BI tools. So here, what is the BI tools? One is Tableau, Power BI, Excel, Looker, JDBC or ODBC clients. So these kind of BI tools, if you want to connect with the Databricks free edition, then you need to select this option to generate the access token to establish connection between Databricks and these kind of BI tools. So that is first option. So in BI tools, we have SQL related options. We have only data warehouse related options. We have only SQL. So that is the option we are getting directly. That means automatically it's selecting SQL. Next, we'll come to other API options. So now we understood when we need to select these BI tools. Now we'll see when we need to select other API tools. Okay, so here in BI tools, so one use case is like, suppose I want to uh, connect the connection between Power BI and between Databricks SQL Warehouse. Suppose Power BI needs to query a Databricks SQL warehouse. That means this is my Power BI and I want to query of Databricks SQL warehouse. So that means this one SQL editor and this one SQL warehouse. So then in this case, choose option underscore BI tools. So that means here I given one example like Power BI. From Power BI, I want to access this SQL errors. So it can be depends on project, which BI tool you will use. Suppose in my project, they will use Power BI. So they will use this one. So if you are using Tableau and if you are connecting to Databricks, so either here, it can be either Power BI, Tableau, Excel, Looker, JDBC, any BI tool. If you want to connect to Databricks SQL warehouse, so what we need to do under scope, we need to select BI tools. So that is under scope, we need to select BI tools. So this is more secure because the token cannot create clusters or manage jobs. So what it means, if you select this option, BI tools and SQL, and while querying from Power BI to Databricks SQL heroes, what they're telling that either cluster or jobs, it won't run. So that means not required to start the cluster. Either create the cluster or run the cluster or for running the jobs. So first we need to understand Power BI to here whether cluster is required or not. Either cluster or jobs are required or not. So that is main important point. Since we don't require uh, uh, creating clusters or manage jobs, so we can select this one. So if you want to uh, use the cluster, then you have to go for other API options. So since Power BI cases, we don't require these clusters, everything. So we can directly select underscore BI tools. Next, what is other APIs? So when we need to select these other APIs is choose this if the token is used by applications, scripts, automation, or REST APIs. So that means, so here scripts means Python scripts, Databricks CLI, Terraform, Airflow, Azure DevOps, GitHub Actions, Postman, REST API. So if your external API is these kind of things, then you have to select other API options. So one example is, so here in other API, one example is, suppose if you want to run Python script. So, and you want to access to Databricks REST API. Then you choose under scope other APIs. If your project is related to this kind of work, you want to run Python script to Databricks REST API, then you choose scope equal to other APIs here in second option. And so this is one other APIs. So now we understood when to choose BI tools and when to choose other API tools. Now API scopes. So here, as soon as you select BI tools or other API, so here we have option API scopes. In API scopes, what it written is scopes restrict which API endpoints this token can access. And if you click on this learn more, it will take you to Databricks documentation. So here everything is clearly mentioned. So API scopes. Sorry. So first one is access management. So access management is perform operations related to users, service principals, groups, and their permissions in accounts and workspaces. In access management, we have 72 operations we can perform. So all these kind of operations, oh, sorry, not operations. Uh, if you create access token for this one under access management, that means now I selected other API site. If I click on this, first one is access management. So whatever here headings are there, no? So that each and everything here, one by one, it is explained. So here first one is access token. So they started with access token, and under access token, so 72 operations we can perform. So that means while generating access token, suppose you give a name and you kept retention lifetime as 14 days, and you selected other APIs option. And as soon as if you click on this, you will get these many options here. So in these many options, first one is access token. Suppose if you're selecting, suppose if I click this one, that means I selected access management. So before generating, so we should know what all the things will cover in access management. So in this access management, these 72 operations we can perform. That means suppose get a rule set, update, get app permission set, update app permissions. So set a cluster policy permissions. So this kind of all these kind of operations you can perform. That means your access is limited to only these 72 operations. So that is the meaning of access management. First one. Next, what is second one? AI gateway. If you select this one, so AI gateway, you should be here. AI search is there, alert is there, apps is there. So AI gateway is not there, and AI search. If we'll see AI search, okay, AI search is there. I don't know whether they skipped this one AI gateway. So if you come to AI search, perform operations related to AI search indexes. So if you select this option here, so what are the operations you can perform? So if you expand this one, see these are all the 15 operations you can perform. So what it telling? Mainly AI related options. Okay, so AI related operations you can perform. And third one is suppose AI BI. Okay, so here AI BI, this option not there. So suppose AI BI. Okay, so what I'm feeling like this one AI search we don't have, right? Not AI search. So AI gateway in documentation it is not there, and AI search, AI BI. So here AI BI is not there, right? Maybe if you have a paid version, you might get that option. So whatever options here available for that, we look in documentation. So AI search, we already saw 15 operations you can perform. And next one is alerts is there. So alerts, so perform operations related to Databricks SQL alerts and alert destinations. So in this, you can perform 6 operations. So one is list the alerts, create an alert, get an alert, delete, update, and get current user info. So these are all the options you can perform if you select alert. So next is apps. So if you select apps, you can perform 50 operations. Okay. So like list the apps, creating app, and create an app deployment, get an app. So, okay, all these operations you can perform if you select apps. So like this, you can see one by one documentation. So whenever you want to create access token, so first you see the option here, and that relevant option you check in documentation. So suppose if you see apps, perform operations related to apps on Databricks. So this is how to create and everything. Next one is authentication. So perform operations related to authentication settings and configurations for accounts and workspaces. So in this, we have 13 operations we can perform. So that is like list service principal secrets, create service principal secret, update user token, create user token, revoke, list token, list all tokens, get. Okay. So all these operations, these 13 operations you can perform if you select authentication. So next, maybe we'll see bundle. If you see bundle, I think bundle, they're not provided documentation. Okay. Next, bundle deployment also, they're not given here, list of operations. Maybe we'll see clusters is available. So, okay, so clusters is there. Suppose if you select a cluster, so what are the things you can perform? These 29 operations you can perform here. So in Databricks, you can perform these many operations if you select clusters. So then we'll see what are the common things we'll do. Uh, dashboard. We'll see here documentation is there for dashboard. Dashboard, it is not there. Dashboard is not there. Maybe we'll see Databricks SQL is there. Databricks Connect is there, but Databricks SQL is not there. Maybe you can check for environments. So environments, these 19 operations you can perform with environments. Next, what are the general things we can see? Jenny, maybe you can see Jenny. And in Jenny, you can perform 27 operations. Okay, and instant jobs. So these jobs is the Databricks jobs. So here we have right jobs, SQL editor, query, jobs. This one, jobs and pipelines. So for this kind of related work, you can select the jobs and you can see here jobs and workflow. So in this you can create 36 operations. So these are all the operations you can perform if you select jobs. And next, what is the frequent we'll use? Net pipelines. If I select pipeline, so for pipelines, you can perform these 13 operations. So pipeline related operations. So next frequent thing, what we'll use? Query history. If I select query history, you can see here these two operations you can perform. So get current user information, list the queries. And secrets, if you select secrets, what are the options you can perform? So secrets management, these two 12 operations you can perform in secrets, like get a secret, delete, add, create new secret scope. So all these operations. Next, if you come to SQL, so SQL, it is not mentioned. Okay, so here it is not mentioned SQL, but we saw that whenever you go for BI tools, by default SQL will select, but here they're not mentioned what are the operations you can perform. Next, tags. Okay, Unity catalog will use normally. So Unity catalog, you can perform these 123 operations if you select Unity catalog. Okay, and next we frequently use is workspace. So vector search workspace. I think workspace is not provided, I think. Okay, so workspace is not given. So like this, you can check the documentation. So before creating access token. So while selecting this option, what we should know is we should know our requirement. That means that is project requirement we should know. So according to that, we can select the option. So here I have few scenarios. So when to select which one? So we'll see one by one. So under API scopes, after selecting other APIs, so you must specify which REST APIs the token is allowed to call. So instead of giving access to everything, Databricks lets you select only the required APIs. So that means here it's showing everything now. So here itself it is mentioned all APIs, it is not recommended. So while selecting this option, so first we should know that what is the requirement. So here they're simply telling that instead of giving access to everything, so we need to select, it always recommended to select only required APIs. So first we'll see API scope. So what is here our API scope? In API scopes, so we have this many, right? So in this jobs API, suppose if you select jobs related API, that means here jobs is there, right? Uh, jobs. If you select this one, so what it purpose we already saw, but here few examples are there. Purpose is create, update, and run the jobs. At the same time, if you select clusters, so mainly it is for create and manage clusters. So all these things we already saw here in documentation. What are the number of operations you can perform? So same thing I written here. So with few API scopes. So first scenario we'll see. Suppose uh, I want my Python script only start a job. I have Python script. I want to start only a job. So then the token cannot access clusters or node. So that means for running the Python script, so I don't require access to clusters or notebooks. So that means this is my Python notebook. So I want run jobs API. So then what we can do is first what we can do is under scope. So here if I come back, generate new token. Okay. Uh, so what I will write here is uh, Python script only to start a job. So this I'll write here. My lifetime is 14 days. Then what you need to select is under scope, other APIs. So other APIs and under API scopes, I need to select jobs. So why I need to select jobs is, so here I want to run the Python script only to start a job. Okay, so I don't require any other purpose. So if I select here job, I will select a job. So that is for my first scenario, I required only jobs. So I selected jobs here. Then what I will do, I will generate this access key. So after generating access key, so what it telling, your token has been created successfully, and this token we need to copy and we need to keep in our notepad somewhere. Why? Because this is one time display, so later it won't be able. So here they give a warning like make sure to copy the token now, so you won't be able to see it again. So as soon as you generate your token key, token, just copy and keep in your notepad, and later you can paste while doing installation. Okay, so now one access token is created for jobs. So this is my first scenario. And if you see here, name. So access token name is what I given here, description, that is this one. And this is token ID. And here creation date and expiration date it is given. So 14 days. So here 7/4 and here 7/18. So 14 days validity. And at any time you can revoke the token, and at the same time you can update the token. So update to token means suppose you required any additional uh, APIs here apart from jobs. So you are free to select few more uh, APIs, or you can select it or deselect it. So anything is possible. So once you selected the scopes, you can click on update. Suppose if you want to revoke this token, just click and revoke the token. So if you click on revoke token, it will tell you that any applications or scripts using the token with ID, that is this one, will no longer be able to access the Databricks API. So you need to modify all those applications and scripts to use a different token for accessing the API. So what is the tip is bypass this dialog by holding the OK. So if I do revoke token, what will happen? It will delete from this Databricks free edition. Then what will happen? What all the you can say notebooks or operations. Suppose jobs related. So this many operations it is mentioned, right, for jobs. I don't know here. Okay. So these 36 operations, right? So might be we created some operations. Among these 36 operations, we might have created few operations based on this service, based on this token. So once you revoke this token, what are dependent operations related to access token you cannot perform. What we need to do, you need to create one more new token and you need to link to that one, those operations. Okay, so this is about first scenario. Next one is, suppose I want to create the clusters for Terraform. So here scope is, since Terraform is other APIs, so first we need to go to scope, under scope other APIs. So click on generate new token. So here what I will do, my access token name, I will give this one. So here this one validity is 14 days. Under other APIs, I will click on this, and here what they're telling on other APIs, in under API scopes, we need to select here both clusters and workspace. Why? Because here I want to create the clusters and at the same time I want to access the workspace also. So here I will select both clusters and workspace. So one is a cluster and second one is workspace. So these two I selected and I will click on generate. So here access token is generated. I will click on done. So now one access token is created for this scenario. And third scenario is, suppose Databricks CLI uploads notebooks. So what I need to choose is scope, other APIs, that is this one, scope, other APIs. So here what I will do, I will keep my access token name as this one. And under API scopes, what I need to select, workspace and repos. Why? Because since we need to work on notebooks, Databricks notebooks, so we should have access to workspace. So workspace means this one to create the notebooks, and repos. So repos means to upload the data sets. Okay. So to upload the data sets, we required access to repos. So repos means here catalog. So you can click on catalogs. So under catalogs, so we can load the data here, or you can click and add the data. Click and add the data, so you can upload the files here. So we need, if we need this access, then we have to click on repos also. So here now as what I selected, first I need to select workspace, then repos. Okay, so I don't have option repos. So instead of repo, I will select a cluster. So or otherwise only workspace access is enough to upload the data. All these things for uploading the data, everything, workspace access is enough. That is second scenario. So what I will do here, now I selected workspace and I will click on generate. Access token will generate and click on that. Now I created two access tokens. And next my scenario is, suppose I want to trigger Airflow jobs and monitor them. So then my scope is other APIs and other API scopes. What I need to select is jobs and clusters. Why jobs is, since I want to trigger the pipelines, so pipeline, this is jobs. Jobs means pipelines. So in Airflow, each activity will be considered as jobs. So we need to select the jobs. So only if you are triggering Databricks jobs. Okay. So next, clusters. So if you want to run Airflow jobs, so if you work on Airflow job, if you have experience on Airflow, then you will understand what is the jobs and why these jobs clusters are required. So as soon as you trigger the pipeline, that means either you manually trigger the pipeline or you schedule the pipeline in Airflow. Once it started, it will take at least between 5 to 10 minutes to start the cluster. Once the cluster started, then only your jobs will start. Suppose like moving data from source to bronze, bronze to silver, silver to gold. So these jobs will start only after once cluster is activated. Okay, so for this purpose, what I required here is now scope, other APIs, and here what I mentioned, jobs and clusters. So clusters and jobs. I'll click on generate and I'll click on done. So this is one scenario, and one more scenario is I want to use DBT core installation with integration VS Code. So what we need to do is, uh, in future I will make one video on this, um, how to do DBT core installation in VS Code. Once you install VS Code, Visual Studio, in Visual Studio you need to do installation DBT core. So while doing installation, you in between the process, it will ask you the access token to connect your Databricks environment. Okay, so that time, what is the scope? Other APIs in API scopes, what you required is one is a SQL, one more is workspace. Why? Because DBT core, all your code, it is totally dependent on SQL. So you should require SQL and workspace. So the SQL warehouse or cluster handles the Unity catalog permissions internally. So we don't need required to select separately for DBT. Suppose I will mention this one as the access token name, 14 days. Maybe I'll change to 20 days this one. And other APIs, here I'll select what I required is SQL workspace. So first I will select SQL, then I'll select workspace. Why SQL and workspace is required is SQL is for accessing the warehouse, because the DBT, it totally works on SQL code. Okay, so SQL warehouse is required. Next one is workspace. Workspace, why it is required is whatever you do this DBT, once execution completes, the tables will store in your Databricks environment. So for that, you require workspace access. And here what they're telling is the SQL warehouse handles the Unity catalog permissions internally. So if you see here, we have Unity catalog option, but this one, it is not required for this particular scenario. Why? Because this workspace API, workspace, this one API, that means this one scope, API scope, this itself handles the Unity catalog permissions internally. So only these two is enough. And next scenario is, okay, so here authentication I mentioned. So first one is, we need to install the VS Code. After installing VS Code, we need to install the DBT core. And while installing DBT core, it will ask you the personal access token. So if you provide personal access token, then you can able to access the Databricks SQL warehouse. And while running the job, so what will happen? So cluster will start automatically SQL warehouse. Then the data will move to Unity catalog. So this is the authentication workflow for DBT. Next one is the query history. In query history, the scope allows an application to retrieve the history of SQL queries that have been executed. What is the use case is build a dashboard showing query performance, audit who ran with query, which query, and analyze SQL warehouse usage. So query history is like this one, query history. So here you can see who ran the queries. Suppose you can filter these things like last 7 days view who ran the query, and these are all the filter options you can select. And here you can see all the queries here. What all the queries run on which date it is started, duration, source, compute, user, all the details you will find. So if you want to get this access query history, then then what we need to select is generate token 14 days other APIs. So here you can select this query history, this one. So then in that case only query history is enough. So next scenario is clusters. So when we need to select only clusters. So this scope is needed when your application manages compute. So like suppose if you are in platform, if you're working in platform team or data architect, then you have the responsibility to create the clusters for each and every environment. That is like for dev, one cluster, for test environment, one cluster, acceptance, one cluster, production, one cluster. So that creating the clusters, since it is responsibility of platform team and data architect, so then you can select this one option like clusters option. So that what will happen? So either platform team or data architect person will have only access to create the clusters. So I'll click on clusters, then generate. So that means for either platform or data architect team, they can only create the clusters in Databricks environment. So like creating the cluster or starting or stopping a cluster, restart a cluster or edit cluster configuration. And if you see in real time, as I told, these clusters will be created by either platform team or data architect. So generally, developers won't be having access to edit the cluster configuration. It will be locked for you. So if you want to create any new cluster or if you want to edit the configuration, so only a data architect or platform team can do that. So next is bundles. So these bundles, this scope is for Databricks asset bundles. Asset bundles let you deploy resources such as jobs, pipelines, dashboards, models, permissions. So you might have about Databricks asset bundles. Okay. So these asset bundles, if you select these bundles, what are the operations you can perform? Like jobs, that is the Databricks jobs, jobs and pipelines. So that is jobs and pipelines. Next is the dashboards, this one, and models and permissions. Okay, so these are all the options you can perform if you select bundles. So here I will write like bundles, 14 days, other APIs, and here you can select bundles. Okay. So next scenario is what happens if you don't select an API scope? So the generate button remains disabled until you provide your name and you select at least one API scope in other APIs. Suppose here I will click on generate new token. So here suppose I will give cluster management, and here I'll mention some 25 days. Under other APIs, if I don't select any of the option here, so you will not get option to generate this one until you select at least one option here. That means one scope here. That is the mention. So one is provide a name. Suppose if I remove this one, then see it won't activate. So you need to provide two compulsory options. One is token name and at least one scope name. Suppose if I give one scope, as soon as I give one scope, this option will get activate. So that is the thing it is mentioned here. Next, which should you choose? So suppose if your requirement is Power BI, then our scope is BI tools, only SQL. So that means for Power BI case, here we'll write BI, and here we need to select BI. As soon as you select, SQL will come. So that same thing it is mentioned. Scope is BI tools, that is scope is BI tools, and API scope is SQL. So API scope is SQL. And similar way, if our requirement is the Databricks CLI, so we need to select in other APIs. That means here, other APIs, this one, other APIs under API scopes, we need to select these two, workspace and clusters. And similar way, REST API. So we already saw this one, all these things, how we need to select these API scopes. And finally, what is the best practices? Give the token only permission it needs. That means this one. So no need to select all all the items. So only select what is required. So that means how we saw these scenarios, no, depends on our scenario and the usage. We are selecting either one or two, three, no. So that is the option they're telling. That is the best option to give the create the access token. Next, use a short sorry, use a short lifetime. So between 14 to 30 days whenever possible. And third one is create separate tokens for different applications instead of sharing one token. So here I created right for different scenarios, for different access token. So like this, they're suggesting to create the access token. So depends on usage. Okay. So here we saw how to create access tokens, personal access tokens, and what are the options we need to select. So based on different scenarios. So now I think you got familiar how to generate personal access tokens in customized way. So now what I will do, since for demo purpose I created this one, what I will do, I will revoke all these access tokens. So I'll click on this revoke token. Okay. So all my access tokens are removed now. Okay. So just review my video with all the options, when to use which option. So it covers maximum cases and scenarios. So that's all about this video. If you really like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.